We are surrounded by a world of fascinating people who all share the same thing in common. And I have the pleasure of sharing their stories. I'm Wanda Ryan, and welcome to my show. Thank you very much for tuning in to that Wanda Ryan show. I'm Wanda Ryan, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Tina Cole. Tina Cole has been a great advocate and role model for those in the entertainment industry. She is a prominent member, supporter, and influencer here in Canada. She has over 25 years experience of developing, mentoring, and managing hundreds of independent emerging artists. She is a strong leader who achieves and conquers, a visionary who sets goals and creates avenues to unlock the potentials. Tina is a strategic partner and business director who developed and co-founded the Music QUADRANT, an academic approach to artist development in the music business. Most importantly, Tina is a woman of integrity, compassion, dedication, and is prepared to break down barriers and strategically change the landscape for a better world. Just recently, Tina was awarded the 2023 Industry Person of the Year at the Mississauga Music Awards, and it's truly an honor to welcome Tina Cole, also known affectionately as Mama Sway, to the show. Thank you, Tina, for joining us.
But thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here and an honor to be here on the show with you, to have this opportunity to chop it up for a little bit about what I do and why I do it. So thank you so much for having us.
Well, we're very excited. Congratulations on the win for the 2023 Industry Person of the Year.
Thank you.
This is a very prominent award. So can you walk us through the days leading up to the big day, how you're notified, and the significance for those who are unaware of it?
The most important thing for me, of course, was the Mississauga Music Awards. And as you know, Wanda, Mississauga is my hometown. Don't do what I do for awards and accolades. I do it because it needs to be done. But if I am going to be recognized for it, I was really humbled by the fact that it was done right here in my hometown.
Yeah.
And being acknowledged by my peers here at home means more to me than I could ever express, much more than just having this beautiful piece of art that's called an award sitting on my mantle. It's about being home and people that I've grown up with and worked with and faced challenges with recognize what I've been doing. So that meant a lot to me. But how I led up, to be very honest with you, I was on a business trip in Los Angeles, and I got back on the 22nd of August, and I got two really, I'm gonna say, one was a left hook and one was a right hook. One was an unexpected text from the minister's office, Minister of Heritage and Culture, Neil Lumsden's office, and the other was what I thought was a memory that was coming up on my Facebook. And I thought, because I was nominated for this award in the past, and I thought, oh, it just must be a memory of, when I was, nominated a couple of years ago. And then I looked at the actual graphic, and it said 2023, and I went, that's not a memory, that's this year. And so I reached out to the founder of the platform, a gentleman, great guy by the name of Demetrius Nath. And I said, Demetrius, I just saw something on Facebook. Have I been nominated again, or am I misreading that? He goes, and he chuckled and he goes, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, you have. And I'm there. Oh, but I had no knowledge that I had been nominated. I found out by fluke like that. He was just about to send me the email to let me know officially that I had been nominated. But when I saw it, I thought, oh, wow, this is so cool. And I never expect to win. I never set expectations on anything. And I typically don't go to award shows because, like I said earlier, I don't do what I do for myself, and I don't do it to put a star shine in my name. I do it to help aspiring artists get to where they want to go. But I thought, this is different. It's in my hometown. I thought I should just go, if anything, to support Demetrius, because him and his team have put a lot of work and effort into creating this platform. So I went completely not expecting to win. I went to support more than anything. And also the attendees in that room that night, I would say a good 85% of the people there are people that I know personally, or that I have mentored and coached and answered questions for and guided and all the things that I love to do. And that's pretty much to uplift, educate, and eradicate misconceptions about our industry. But when I won, I kind of had to do it double take. And in fact, when I got to the podium to accept my award, in my actual speech, I told them quite bluntly that I just was not comfortable at that podium to accept, because it's not something I prepare for, because it's never really in my eye line in terms of why I do what I do. So, but overall it was wonderful, absolutely, and it was great. What's good about it, though, Wanda, is that the founder of the Mississauga Music Award, he has nothing to do with picking nominees or picking winners. It's all done by nonpartisan, independent music industry people that look through portfolios of what people have done and what they've accomplished and what they've achieved, and then based on their evaluation of that, decide whether you're worthy of receiving the award. And it's basically given to someone who is the behind the scenes person, do behind the scenes to try to help young emerging artists have lights shone on their names and marquees and things like that. So it was good to be acknowledged. And the irony of it is that 90% of most of the success you see with music artists around the world, from Beyonce all the way down, 90% of it comes from the behind the scenes people, the
Yeah.
team, the management, legal, marketing, promotion, tour team, tour manager, personal manager, business manager, lawyers, accountants. Like, there is a huge team that gets behind any successful artist. And typically it's a culmination of all of their efforts coming together to create this very successful and commercial brand. I personally, and not just because it's me, but I was pleased to be representing the behind the scene people who deserve acknowledgement, but very rarely ever get it. I was actually thinking of starting my own award show sometime soon, where you never see a Grammy for the best manager, you never see a Grammy for the best promoter, you never see a Grammy for the best tour manager, the best lawyer, you never see Grammys given out to people like that, and yet they are such an integral part of the success
Yeah.
module, and so it's good. I'm happy, and I hope that there are other initiatives that come in the future that give more recognition and accolade to those people that are working tirelessly behind the scenes.
Yes, absolutely. And
Hmm.
I love the fact that you did mention the team, because you can't stand on your own
Mm-mm.
and achieve what you need to do, especially in this industry. I know that you had Neena Rose with you. Lovely pictures, and Neena is one of your primary artists that you have been working with for several years now.
Yep.
And she's extremely talented, and she's very lucky to have you and the team that stand with you as well. So
Thank you.
I want the audience to get to know Tina Cole behind the lens. You're always right there when everybody needs you. You've done a lot in the community as well, the Italian Fest and many other festivals and venues and things like that. What, if anything, and how has your Italian heritage shaped your life and shaped you as being the woman that you are today?
That's a really interesting question, and I really love the question, because my Italian roots and my Italian heritage have a 99.9% factor in who I have become as a woman, primarily because my parents, both born in different parts of Italy, had they not immigrated to Canada, I might not be here, because they would have never met in Italy. They actually met here in Canada shortly after arriving from Italy, but both of them left what they knew as home, their family, a country they knew the language, and they knew the lifestyle. They knew everything like the back of their hand in Italy, and they left it to come to North America for what they would hope would have been a better life for their unborn families. They didn't even have families yet, but they were thinking about the future of how they could improve their lives for themselves and the future families that they would have in their time, as time, progressed in North America, specifically in my case, Canada, because I had relatives that landed in the US as well as in Canada, and across Canada as well as the US. But I'm going to speak to Toronto, because that's where 80% of my family, both mother and father, settled here in Toronto. I think watching my parents do a lot of blue collar work, hard work, and they never complained about it. They just were happy to be in a country where they had a job and were getting paid and being able to do things for their families, in particular, in my case, for myself and my brother and my sister. My dad was very proud. And I only learned a lot about the pain and suffering he went through much later in my life, like in my 30s and 40s, about, some of the hardship that we went through as a family that, of course, my parents kept hidden from us, like being on welfare, for example, and things like that happened
Yeah.
because of situations that were beyond their control. But my dad, he is really my hero. My father is really, he always said to me, and if you understand anything about Italian culture, my dad was adamant about education. He pushed education beyond anything that I could ever express. And even for me as a woman and my sister, both of us, he kind of put it in an alignment that I don't ever want you to feel that you would be that dependent on a man that you wouldn't be able to live on your own if you had to. Because sometimes you have to beyond anything you ever expected. And life has really unprecedented twists and turns that it can take. And if you're not prepared for it, you're going to be, And so he pushed me hard at school. And a lot of times when I think back, I pushed myself. I excelled. I did very well. I graduated with university with a 97.7% average. I was a valedictorian. I got an award from a company called Sperry Vickers at the time for my academic achievement. And so I really enjoyed learning, and I pushed to become a stellar student. But in retrospect, I think I became a stellar student back then because I didn't want to disappoint my dad. So I
Yes.
really, at that time, I think I was doing it for my father than I was doing it for myself, only to learn later in life that everything I did in the end ended up being for me. And that was my father's way of doing it. In fact, to make you chuckle a little bit, I remember when my father used to, discipline in a way where he would sit and chat with me and my brother, my sister. I remember him saying to me once, he goes, Tina, if you ever come home with the police, I'm not going to be happy about it. And if they're going to give you 6 months, I'm going to tell them to add 6 more for me. So you're going down for 12 months. I was like, okay, Dad. Now,
Yeah.
you ever come home and tell me you're pregnant? An Italian family, not too great, but we'll figure it out. I won't
Yeah.
be happy about it, but we'll work it out. We'll figure it out.
Right.
And then his finale was, but if you ever come home with the old Italian, like fingers pointing at me, if you ever come home and tell me you're going to quit school, I will throw you out. You are a dead woman to me. I will never speak to you again. Absolutely. My father was adamant about, us getting full education. So that the education he never got. And because of that was doing blue collar work. And he used to always say, I came here to the land of opportunity to give you opportunity. So I sacrificed everything so that you could have everything. And so I'm not going to let you dishonor that. You are going to school and you are going to get an education and you can do anything you set your mind to. My father really is the pillar that holds my back up, that makes me the person that I am. And then I'm surrounded by wonderful friends and colleagues like yourself, Wanda, who constantly support and acknowledge and, let me know how proud you all are of what I'm doing. And then my family, my husband and my son, especially my son. The reason I'm in the music industry is because of my son. And that's a long story. And that's another interview in its own right. But,
Yeah.
but they support me. There are times that I'm out of the house so often. I leave my husband at 8 a.m. because he's retired. I don't get home till 8 or 9 at night. Never complains. Always, how was your day, hon? So what happened? Always. He's more of a quiet, low key kind of a guy, under the radar kind of a guy. I'm very, as you know, out there in your face, over the top, very extrovert and fearless of speaking, especially when it's truth. And when I'm fighting for righteousness and integrity, I get very loud. That's the Italian in me. But no, my roots definitely gave me the strength to become the person I am and the strength to overcome some very big hardships and adversities that I faced in my life, where I could have very easily quit and just became and put myself into victimization mode and saying, oh, poor me. I never did that. I refused to ever be victimized because, like you said earlier, Wanda, where there's a will, there is a way. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just got to be patient until you find it, or whatever works for you, which might not work for the next person, but that's okay. That's what
Yeah.
makes us individuals, as long as it works for us, right?
Yeah, exactly. We grew up the same way. So you have to have that tough skin. And I'm so glad that you had your dad and your
Hmm.
parents that kept you grounded and that were the
Yeah.
biggest influencers in your life. Everybody needs some kind of support. For those who are listening to our show right now, you're a young emerging artist or you're struggling to be a doctor, really do need someone in your court and what you believe. You've become my mentor, which
Oh,
is,
wow.
I mean, you have been for so many years. I want to talk a little bit about the music called Quadrant.
Hmm.
Hear a little bit of insight.
I'm going to give you the Coles Notes version because, again, this could be another show
Yeah,
on its own. But before I get to the music, there's something I want to touch on about what you just touched on was so important, so important, Wanda. Sometimes what you need and what you need in terms of support is right under your very nose. But until someone points it out to you, you're so blind because it's so clear. Because the one person you should be able to depend on, always be able to depend on, is
it's
yourself.
yes,
Because no one is going to do anything with more heart, with more passion, with more drive, with more integrity than you. But sometimes we just need a little nudge and a little help from someone saying, you can do this.
yeah,
Just stay focused. You can do it. You can't just sit around and talk about what you want to do. You got to write down a plan of action. Keep your eye on the finish line and draw your map on how you're going to get there. And you might have to detour every now and again, like we do when we're on a highway, if you come to some unexpected accident or construction or God knows what you can find on the road. But sometimes we're too afraid because a lot of us have never been. I was really blessed. My father put me in an environment where he encouraged self-confidence every single day. And so fearless, I really am. I am fearless. People say sometimes, I said, no, we have to be honest with each other. If
yeah,
that young person cannot sing or doesn't have enough commercial value in their brand, you have to be honest. You have to tell them the truth. It hurts like hell and it's
yeah,
as hard as heck, but someone has to be fearless enough to tell them the truth.
yes,
So the quadrant was born on that, exactly that truth,
right,
because as I said, my son got me into this industry. And again, without getting into too much detail, in 2010, 2011, he was an aspiring artist doing very, very well, having great success. We did a lot of it in the US, but my husband and I invested a substantial amount of money in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'll tell you, it was more than 500,000 and less than a million, but somewhere in between there is
yeah,
what we spent. And I learned the hard way, not just by talking the talk. I've walked the walk. So when I talk about the experience and the journey of the industry, it's because I've walked it. And when I reflect back on that journey, I quickly identified what I did right, what I did wrong, what I could have done better, and what I shouldn't have done at all. I learned a lot about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And believe me, there is a lot of ugly in this industry, especially if you don't know what you're doing. You got to be oh so careful. My son's journey in the music industry came to a halt because of a life-threatening illness that he was afflicted with. And we won't get into detail there, but just know that it was life-threatening. And so everything in music just came to a complete stop because we were focused on saving his life. When in during that time that he was in treatment and so on, and I was doing all of the business stuff like collecting contracts and paperwork and invoices because I needed it for my input tax credit, for the sound recording tax credit, and all these things that I know I could do here in Canada. I was busy doing that. And while I was doing that, I really got exposed to a lot of the ugly. There's a lot of ugly in this business. So when I realized exactly the times that I got snaked or the times that I let my guard down when I shouldn't have, even though I knew in my heart of hearts that something doesn't seem right about this, but I used to hear oh, stop being such a typical momager. You're going to cost your son his career, blah, 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 blah. But all those times where I had that just doesn't seem right to me,
yeah,
were the times that we were getting snaked and I should have followed my instinct. So I came home to Canada determined to teach the business of the business, to teach it from the very humble beginnings right to huge success. And I wanted to find a 360 way to academically teach the business of the business. And I created the program called the Music Quadrant, where the kids gave up their entire summer. The parents invested a substantial amount of money because I believe in having skin in the game. I don't believe in doing stuff for free. The same immersion from the student, knowing, oh, this is just a free ride, so who cares, as opposed to, oh my God, my parents just spent X amount of thousands of dollars, I better concentrate here, you know. And my purpose for that program was to be able to do everything within my power to teach young people and their families, because I also spoke to moms and dads. I had them coming for certain classes to teach them about the commerce that their kids want to get into. And the main purpose of that program was to try to do everything in my power to save any other Canadian family from hitting the same brick walls that we did in this great fun industry, but one that you have to be oh so careful in. It's in that program that I actually discovered Neena Rose.
What a treasure you found there.
An absolute treasure.
I love the fact that this Quadrant company that you co-founded, and that I believe you built this from scratch. To bring the families on board, I think is really important. They'll do anything for their daughter or their son. You have to understand business before you can jump in and make those decisions. So that's really awesome.
At the end of the day, I have a few taglines, Wanda. A dream without a plan is just a wish.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't mean it's going to materialize. And the other one that I really, really focus on is I want to transition artists from the hobby state of mind into the industry state of mind.
What's next for Tina Cole?
Right off the top with Neena Rose, we have some really great things on the horizon. And unfortunately, I'm not in a position to share any of them. I can just tell you that they're magnificent and they are what we have been working so hard for. And it's so ironic because we're at the last stretch. We're right at the front door and they've opened the door now. But the part of walking through the door, that sometimes can take just as long as the journey to the door because it's a process. Lawyers are involved, paperwork's going back and forth. You know, we don't like this, we don't like that, change this. No, we don't want to change this. It's just like a lot of this negotiation process that takes a long time. So that's something I am very proud of because I made her a promise when she was 12. I told her I would never quit and that I would deliver her. I wasn't quite sure where the destination was going to be at that point, but I knew that I was determined to deliver her somewhere. And so we've arrived at the destination and the door is open. Now we just have to walk through and settle in, put our furniture in place and, you know, start living the life that she's dreamed of. I'm working on some initiatives right now with a number of very big platforms, namely Billboard and another platform called The Music Connection. And I'm working with something, I can't get too deep into it, but with the Recording Academy that governs the Grammys out of Los Angeles. I'm so blessed to have some really great people on my Rolodex that I've developed over the years in terms of relationships, both here and in the US, primarily the US, but in both countries, that I'm working on some things. But my focus is going to be about teaching the business of the business in real life situations. I'm really passionate about that. You said earlier that you were so glad that I was passionate about the business. I do. I love the business. It's a fun business to be in, but I'm more, if I were to really define what I'm passionate about, is righteousness, integrity, being sure that everyone is aware so that you're making educated decisions about what this business is about. And so I want to go back to the reason I got into this business is to go back to teaching the business of the business. And Neena Rose is actually my proof of concept because she did come to the Music Quadrant. She came when she was 12. She's now 21. I've been working with her for almost 10 years. Okay. And it's been we've had a lot of ups and downs. We had a lot of great moments, a lot of not so great moments, a lot of, you know, moments where we're just so confusing, but we never gave up. That was the most important characteristic that we had as a team. But Neena's really my proof of concept because she came, she learned, she listened, she started doing the work.
You are an amazing and incredible human being. And,
Thank you.
You know, I'm so grateful to have you on our show today.
Thank you for having me. I know I talk a lot, but that comes from a passion for what I do. And I have so much I want to say, and I always feel like I never have enough time to get it all out.
And I'd love to have you on our show again sometime.
I'd love to. I'd love to. Just let me know when and where. I'll be there. You know me.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
It's a slice of Canada.